I felt like the biggest dork there, but I loved it. And then here's some other pictures, Village Homes. If you guys haven't been there, you should go. It's great. This is their open swell drainage. Oh, my favorite picture. Did you guys see Skip? I was an intern with Skip, and he's the only person that just totally did not think that was funny. And it is hilarious. He has a lime on his head. Oh, no, Photoshop. It's Photoshop. It's not real. I don't know. I think it looks pretty real because he looks very upset. But anyways, that's my presentation of the future. We don't really have time for questions unless we have a very fast talker.
We do. We have until 1.
Oh, we do?
Yeah.
Bring it on. No, maybe not. Maybe bring a little bit on. You know, I just graduated just a couple years here. I know a little bit. Mark Francis.
So we need to figure out a way to get you on the road. Send you around the country, get your bus, and you just, great presentation.
Oh, great!
I'm going to put this and send it to the White House, I think.
Oh, no!
Sorry.
She's getting our acronyms wrong. What is she doing? It's a horrible case of Campbell's soup where you just dip it in and you pick up the letters. You guys heard that? If I ever get a business where I have to get an acronym, that's how I'm doing it. I'm getting a can of Campbell's soup.
I had a question.
Oh! Yes, your question.
Sorry. That was a comment. So, when you do this kind of work through the local government commission, you're working with mayors and bankers and city council people, folks like that, right? And is it kind of a top-down thing right now? Is this coming down through this new legislation and mandates from Obama administration, or is there more of you see a kind of a grassroots kind of bottom-up to it as well? My question is really about the participation. Is this a bunch of professionals and leaders, enlightened leaders thinking about this, or is there a kind of a groundswell movement behind
people pushing it?
Yeah. What do you see?
I'll try to comment on that. I know from Judy, my executive director, has been working on these issues forever, and she would always tell me, it's like, you have to do so much education. Just because now that we're seeing the state and feds, they're almost the last ones to buy in. It takes tons of that grassroots and that education and people like Judy Corbett and other leaders in the field of talking and rubbing elbows and saying, and getting those, working with the universities and actually getting that research. When we work with local governments or local elected leaders, they don't really want to put their neck out too much because they have to be elected. They'll take risks, but they have to be calculated risks. And they want that data, they want that research to back them up. And so things like that study in Atlanta are really helpful, and the more research and partnerships that we do with our universities, I think, are better. So, I don't know. I think people are finally getting it, and now that they're seeing kind of the costs of how we've been developing, with our infrastructure, with our roads, city and counties just can't maintain them anymore. That's what I've been hearing, just talking with local electeds. So they're starting to, being green and great is that makes your heart feel good if you work at a nonprofit like myself. But if you're trying to manage a city or county, it's the bottom line. And you got to make sure that works out. So I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah.
But.
So about the infrastructure, with the work that you've done so far and seeing some of the inside players and how money is managed, are you noticing that some places are not using money that's supposed to be used for infrastructure maintenance on other things? Because I remember reading about Hetch Hetchy and San Francisco's water and how they have so much assigned for infrastructure management, but over the years they've ended up, it was like a surplus, and they've ended up using it for other programs, for social issues and other things. Have you seen that where it's like they've had the money assigned for keeping things up and then it got distributed elsewhere?
I personally, but it's not surprising. It's nothing sacred. Just when we look at what they're doing right now for our state budget, I'm still young and still getting pretty oblivious to a lot of things, so it still astounds me. How could they just take that money? And it's just they can't. I don't really know how it works, but so yeah, that's not surprising. I don't know. I don't know if Mark or Patsy has a comment on that, but kind of how that works in as far as city or county budgets go. But one thing I've learned being at local government commission is that 75% of the city's general fund goes to police and safety, or fire and safety, which I had no idea. I don't know if maybe that's not shocking to you guys. Maybe you guys already knew, but I didn't know, and that's a real concern. Like when you're working with cities and counties and local governments. When you're pitching this idea of, let's do a green street, right? Oh yeah, it's fabulous. And they're dealing with safety issues and people, providing enough police and fire service. So I guess that's another thing I learned working at the local government commission is like, you got to understand where your issue is relative to the larger issues. And you got to be aware of that and sensitive to it. Yes?
I was under the understanding that it was really, the money went towards what produced the most tax revenue. Really, I've even counted something like that. That's really the goal of the projects that are most important and get built are the ones that are going to eventually, generate more real estate, value, that kind of thing, more taxes, so more common.
Any other comments? Yeah.
Does your organization ever use the argument that in order to maintain public safety, that in the areas of places like water quality, and to prevent fire trucks from falling through streets, that these projects should be created and something like that? Do you use that argument?
I think I think that's why I have that photo in my collection, and because I just think it's becoming more and more relevant, and I think that has also done pushed this conversation of like, okay, it's too expensive to build this way anymore, and these are some of the reasons why. And so I'm not saying everything that we put underground in our gray infrastructure we're going to be putting on top of ground, like with our open swales and everything, but I think there are some things that we got to start rethinking about how we're doing it. And so that really, it speaks to people when they see kind of their systems failing and the costs of that, and it starts people start rethinking their strategies, I think. But we'll see. I've been in this 2 years. Much more will be revealed.
It seems to me with all the infill development work you guys do, putting people in a central area, having their resources close to them so they can walk to and things like that, it seems like it kind of promotes consumerism, right? In the sense that people are right next to where they are, and everyone has what they need near where they are. So I was just wondering, with the obesity things that you were talking about, do you guys do anything to promote kind of like anti-consumerism, like maybe just go out and have fun in our landscapes that we're building for you, and don't just go buy things, because that doesn't seem very sustainable to me, going out and just buying and buying.
I've never heard that before, but that is, it is like, and we never thought of it in that way, but
it just always seems to me that sustainability is about not using resources, and consumerism is the use of resources.
Yeah, and I think when we're promoting infill, we're thinking of the larger resources. Like, for instance, I was at this talk, and it was for the watershed gig. I was giving a little talk about how do you plan your community so you protect your watershed. And one of the big things there is impervious surfaces, because the more impervious surfaces you put down, the more stormwater it collects, and the more junk it dumps into your rivers and your streams that we drink from, right? So that's not good, because then you're expending energy to clean up that water and make it healthy, and so that's really not good. And so one of the things we promote is that the best practice for watershed management is just build infill, to build more compactly and reduce your stormwater, your footprint, your impervious footprint. So when you're putting more people together, I think there's different levels of consumers, but when we're looking at large consumption of our natural resources, I think overall the benefits that you get from infill are going to outweigh that, maybe.
I was just wondering if you tackled
we haven't tackled that. We just want people to build infill, and when they start buying too many donuts, then we have to get onto that one. Any other questions or comments? Are you guys pumped?